Welcome back to our second installment in pin turning video series here. The first video we covered some basic equipment needs in terms of tools like gouges, glue, mandrels. Now we're going to talk about some upgrades that we can do. One of the most common upgrades people start with once they get going is more pin kits. Right? You get bored, you've done 10 plus slim lines, you've done more. You start looking at other kits, like this is a Nuvo, it's a two-tube kit. You see it's got two different tubes, they're different lengths, right? The tube ends about where my fingers are. It's got a nice center band here. So different widths, different sizes of the tubes. So when you buy the kits, make sure you get the different size bushings that go with it. The popular trend now, they call these bolt actions. They look like bullets and guns. Like loading a gun. The tip of the bullet is where the pen comes out. You've got your standard cigar pen, cigar style pen, which is a twist mechanism. Better, I like it because my fingers are a little bit fatter, so I like the wider pens. My favorite kit is the Navigator. I think it's also called the Sierra, depending on who you get it from. That's a two-piece. Again, different sizes, so the bushings are different for the top and for the bottom. Screws on there. This one looks like a shock absorber. So you get all sorts of different ones you can get. You're also going to want to get, at some point, because you're going to be doing so many of these, remember I said you're addicting in the first video, you're going to need some sort of place to put them all. So you get some of these like little storage cases, things like that hold a number of pens. Just something where you can store pens, otherwise you can have them all over the place. Where do you get the different pen kits? Well, there's Rockler, there's Woodcraft, there's Berea, there's Penn State, there's Arizona Silhouette. There's so many of them, and they all look like they carry the same thing. And I'm guessing it's for a couple different reasons. Either one person came up with the design and sold it to a bunch of different manufacturers with non-exclusive agreements, so everybody's manufacturing it. Or everybody's just buying the same thing and just calling it something different. Or when people ask who's got the better, they'll say, oh, vendor A's quality is better than vendor B. Well, why would that be? Anything you want manufactured, whether it's here or in China, Japan, whatever, you specify the quality. And that's going to affect the materials used and the cost at the wholesale level. So vendor A may be going with, I want to sell this as cheap as possible, so make this with the cheapest materials. Whereas vendor B may say, no, I want this to be sold at such and such price point, and I want people to come back and say, these are the best pens ever. Like you're buying some fancy, I won't mention the name, but the multi-$100 pens that people collect worldwide, named after a mountain in France or Switzerland. Give you a hint there, Mont something. So they specify a higher quality product, and so all these factories can make them. It's just how you want to pay. The next thing you're probably going to want to get is, we talked about in the first video, this type of mandrel where when your tailstock hits it and puts pressure, it can bend it. So there's this replacement you can get where you pop out your live center from your tailstock, which almost every lathe should be able to do, almost every lathe, and you replace it with one that has a hollow opening there, or it has an opening to where the mandrel can actually slide in. And by doing that, you go up directly against your workpiece in the bushings when you put the pressure, versus doing it on the end of your mandrel here, so there's no flexing. I think they call this a mandrel saver. I love it. I use it every time. When I'm doing smaller, like single tube kits, like that bullet one, I don't. If it was on a mandrel like this, where the wood's only 2 inches long, I need a lot of bushings at both ends to hold it in place. With this mandrel saver, and it slides closed, I can make this just as long or wide as I need it. So that works really well. Next, we're going to talk about tools. A lot of people, like I said, I showed you the first two tools, which was a 3/4 inch spindle roughing gouge and a 1/4 inch spindle gouge. My next most popular tool I use is this 3/8 inch spindle gouge. Between all three of them, I can pretty much do anything I want. I'm not very good at fancy shapes and profiles with these types of these gouges, so I've added some of these, which came out a few years ago, started becoming popular, these carbide tools. They're typically round or squarish, not 100% square. They may have the ends rounded off. And there's just a little carbide blade that's round here, and you just go literally over your tool stock, straight in, hold it level. That's what you gotta hold it level, roughly thereabouts, to make sure you get the right scraping of the wood, for lack of a better term. My first one I bought had this round bar. I hate this. I turn, I rotate, it catches, it comes flying down, gets caught, things break. It's garbage. For me, the square bar. This bar is square, it sits flat on the tool rest. This is branded as Easy Wood Tools. I really like it. There's other brands out there, but I really like these, especially the square bar. And for some interesting detailing work, Easy Wood Tools makes this little diamond shape here. Same principle, it's a square bar, you go in, but I can get some interesting shapes. The last thing I'm going to talk about as for an upgrade is sandpaper, right? So most of us will start out with whatever buying rolls, Turner's sandpaper, whatever that you see in the catalogs. I don't do that anymore. I buy bulk sheet goods, right? This is an 8.5 by 11 type sheet, and I cut them down to inch smaller. And I have them in grits going from 80 all the way up to 1200, and that's just in standard sandpaper. For 400 up, it's a wet dry sandpaper. You know, it's got that black look to it that you find at auto parts stores, things like that. Those are great for woods. For wood, I rarely go above 400, but sometimes I need to. If it's an open pore wood, what I mean by open pore is, think of cabinets, oak cabinets, and you see sometimes they have this huge cathedral grain that you run your fingers over and you feel like you're going to catch your fingers and get a splinter. That's a very open pored wood. When I get woods like those, I sand them fine to make sure nothing catches and such. If I'm doing acrylics or some of the other materials, which is also, by the way, an upgrade you might want to try at some point, which are plastics and such, there's these things called micromesh. And micromesh starts around 1200 grit and works its way up to 12,000 grit. You know, anything you're talking micron level, like 1 micron, 5 micron grit, you end up being glass smooth. Works really good. So those are it for my next set of upgrades. Some more gouges and some carbide tools. Mandrel saver, makes it much easier for me for turning. Some sort of storage for my completed pens. Sandpaper in multiple grits, chopped up into small pieces rather than buying rolls of sandpaper. Oh yeah. Where do you put all your pen kits? Then you got these little storage boxes, and you flip them down. This has, you know, I just got bits in here, some pen kits, things like that. These are just this is what I started with. Now, for the ones I use the most, I use in these types because I can open up the packages. Remember, the kits come in these little baggies. So I just if I buy like 30 slim lines, I open them up and I put the tubes in one section, the ink cartridge in another, the twist mechanism in one, and that way I just batch them all out. For my lesser used kits, I just use Ziploc storage bags and dump, in the baggie, I dump in the baggie these little packets with the bushings, and in some cases, if they're specialized drill bits, I'll make sure that's in the baggie too. So I do end up at times having duplicates of the drill bits, but I don't want to go hunting. I don't want to spend 20 minutes looking for a drill bit. So if I keep everything together, yeah, there's some duplicative work, and yes, I know I said being cost conscious, but I factor my time as a cost. So if you value your time at $30 an hour and you're going to spend a half hour looking for parts, that's $15 right there that you could apply towards something else. If that gets me 3 drill bits and gives me that time back, that's money well spent. So thank you very much for watching my second video, and the third video will go over a couple more upgrades, and then we'll start the actual process of turning pens.